Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. My name is Tanya Cantlow, and I'm the acting counsel to Brooklyn Borough President Eric L. Adams. To my right, I have Ina Gusenfeld, who is our land use coordinator, and to my left, Richard Barrick, who is the land use director. There are 4 items on the agenda this evening. Please note that this hearing is being recorded to comply with the public law for transparency. It will be available for viewing on Borough President Adams' website, brooklyn-usa.org, or on the One Brooklyn channel on YouTube. Again, web viewers may submit timely comments to Ask Eric at brooklynbp.nyc.gov for Borough President Adams' consideration. Please call the first item and let us begin.
Calendar item number 1, 190211 PQK, 190212 PQK.
These applications submitted by the New York City Department of Sanitation and the Department of Citywide Administrative Services pursuant to Section 197-C of the New York City Charter for the acquisition of a 35,828 square foot privately owned property located at 525 Johnson Avenue and a 39,835 square foot privately owned property located at 145 Randolph Street in Community District 1. Such actions would facilitate continued use as the Community District 3, sanitation garage, and parking lot, respectively, during the construction of the new CD3 garage at 60 Northstern Avenue. Community Board 1 voted to disapprove this application on January 8th, 2019. Would Andre DeLeon, the representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application?
Good evening. My name is Andre DeLeon. I represent the Department of Sanitation, Office of Real Estate. How do we do about, the clicker? Okay. Here will be a short presentation on the of our garage project, our current location, and our future aspirations. As the Madam Councilor has mentioned before, the garage operation is located at 525 Johnson Avenue in the East Williamsburg section of Brooklyn, more Bushwick. It's a single-story building, 35,000 square feet. Across the street from the building, as you can see, is our parking lot at 145 Randolph Street, 39,835 square feet. Okay, some history on this project. Back in 2001, a site for a new garage, CD3 garage, was approved for acquisition. Unfortunately, due to downturns in the economy, thanks to our commissioner, Catherine Garcia, we were able to get funding back in 2016. The proposed site at 60 Nostrand Avenue will fulfill a long-term commitment we've made to Community District 3 to site a garage that serves the community, located within its community, and also at the same time deplete Community Board 1 of one of our garages. At its present time, CD1 holds a few of our facilities, and we were respectful of our fair share burden, and we're very appreciative to the Community District 3 for accepting our garage. This map here shows the routes that we use right now from the existing facility. We have 5 sections, and they all go along Flushing Avenue, and they serve their respective sections. Currently, at Brooklyn 3, we have approximately 119 employees working 24 hours, 6 days a week. Peak shift is usually from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. On a peak day, which is Tuesday, I believe, we have 35 trucks that leave for collection and street cleaning. We average about 143 trips per day, and inside the Brooklyn 3 garage operation, we hold 80 pieces of equipment. It's a map showing, it's not really a good depiction, it's pretty tight. The yellow on the upper right-hand corner is the current location, which is in CD1, and there's the border, and then to the lower left-hand corner will be the future garage, BK3, located at 60 Nostrand Avenue. There's some context for the neighborhood, as you can see in the map here. It'll be composed of 1 block, 2 lots in a predominantly manufacturing zoning area. Now, some details for the future garage. As you can see, Nostrand Avenue to the top, Warsaw Place, Park Avenue to the right, and Flushing to the left. And here are some renderings of our future garage. In keeping with the tradition of having new garages for sanitation, we're aiming to have it LEED certified, and the garage will mimic many of the features that we have in our past garages, such as a Spring Street garage that holds Manhattan Districts 1, 2, and 5, and also it's quite similar to what we had before that on West 57th Street and 12th Avenue, which holds Manhattan's 4, 4A, and 7. Here's a view of the garage from Nostrand Avenue and Park on the corner. So today we're actively looking to get approval for continued use of the current BK3 garage located in Community District 1. This would enable us to secure a lease that would continue our tenancy there, while at the same time have the new garage constructed over at Nostrand Avenue. And thank you for your attention. If there are any questions.
Yes, I have a few questions on behalf of the Borough President.
Yes.
So the first question, as you know, Community Board 1 has for many years been seeking to have the District 3 facility removed from District 1. What is the status of the construction of the new facility?
We have slated, hopefully, construction this year in 2019.
And the second question, while the new District 3 garage is not the subject of this hearing, its 2001 approval predates much consideration for advancing sustainable and resilient development policies. Borough President Adams has consistently called for the incorporating design features such as solar panels, blue and green roof treatments, and incorporation of urban farms in new developments, as well as DEP rain gardens in the adjacent right-of-ways. What consideration can be given to incorporating these elements in the construction of the new garage at 60 Nostrand Avenue?
Okay, here today also is our architects on sanitation, Vitalik and Osby. And we also have Paul Bauer from Dana Architects. They could probably better answer those questions. There.
If you could state your name for the record when you respond.
The renderings, they're all out.
Actually, why don't we go back to the rendering? So my name is Paul Bauer. I'm a principal at Datner Architect and the lead designer on the project. So in answer to your question about what sustainable strategies we have incorporated into the project, there's quite a few, and some of those are sustainable strategies that you don't really see, such as higher performing mechanical systems that'll reduce overall energy consumption at the site. But the things that you will see is approximately a 1 acre extensive green roof. That'll aid in not only reducing heat island effect, it will help filter and clean water that is then captured and held in a rainwater cistern and used for vehicle wash to reduce the amount of potable water used on site. It's a strategy we used on the Manhattan 125 garage and works well for sanitation because there's quite a lot of water that's used in routinely washing the trucks. In addition to that, we also have a photovoltaic array that will offset much of the lighting loads for the building. And let's see, some other features here. We also have electric recharging for electric vehicles. And as I said, a number of condensing boilers, things like that, that reduce overall energy consumption at the site. Oh, and one other feature that I wanted to mention, there's extensive use of glass and clear story in the building and skylights to reduce the overall need for electric lighting during the day. So it allows lots of ample light to come into the building. You can see that on Park Avenue, the south-facing street, where much of the facade is glazed. Offices are pulled back to allow natural light to penetrate through and be shared by everyone in the building. And then, of course, along Nostrand Avenue, there's a lot of a long wall of glass to allow light into the garage.
So the Borough President is interested in connecting residents to safer streets. The Borough President believes that making street crossings safer for children and seniors should be a priority. What consideration would the sanitation give to having sidewalk curb extensions constructed at the intersection of Nostrand Avenue with Park Avenue and Warsaw Place? Just state your name.
Vitaly Gnopolsky, Administrative Architect for Department of Sanitation. Currently, the current condition of the sidewalks in the area is extremely deteriorated. So as the part of this project, we're going to obviously replace all the sidewalks. We're going to install tree pits and new trees, which is definitely going to provide safer environment for the community. Also, even though garage itself is located in industrial area, it's actually borderline with residential area along Nostrand Avenue. So that facade of the garage, we actually pay especially we pay special attention to the tree installations and other interactions with the community at this area. As far as curb extensions, we don't have any features at the moment of this type, but we definitely can consult DOT and see if they would suggest any additional measures for public safety. It was never an issue. That's why in the current design there is no.
So definitely would appreciate you coordinating with DOT, and if you could get back to us before the Borough President has to issue his recommendation on the status of that, or at least if you could introduce that, an update when you testify before the City Planning Commission, that'd be appreciated.
Okay. All right.
So that concludes our questions on this application. So now we'll take the first speaker. Is there a speaker?
No.
Oh, there are no speakers, okay. If there are no speakers, Richard, if you can please close this item.
Calendar item number 1 is closed. Calendar item number 2, 190177 HAK.
This application submitted by the New York City Department of Housing, Preservation, and Development for the following land use actions. Pursuant to Article 16 of the General Municipal Law of New York State, designate 2 lots at 379-383 Howard Avenue and 1 lot at 1279 East New York Avenue as an urban development action area and an urban development action area project for such area, and pursuant to Section 197-C of the New York City Charter, convey such properties to a developer to be selected by HPD. Such actions would facilitate the development of 2 buildings containing a total of 32 units of affordable housing in Community District 16. Community Board 16 voted to approve this application on January 22nd, 2019. Would Lynn Zhang, the representative of this application, please state your name for the record and present the application?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lynn Zhang. I'm from the New York City Department of Housing Preservation Development. With me tonight are members of the development team working on the Brownsville North Ocean Hill project, including Debbie Whitaker from M. Lappin Associates, and Sheila Bennett from East Brooklyn Congregations. So we're very excited tonight presenting this project to you. This project will result in 2 new 4-story residential buildings with approximately 32 affordable units plus 1 supers unit. The proposed development will be located on 2 city-owned vacant underutilized sites, as you stated, at 379, 383 Howard Avenue and 1297 East New York Avenue. So tonight's agenda, as you can see, I'll just go over the land use actions again, and I'll turn it over to the development team to go into details of the proposed project. And we'll take questions at the end. So HPD requested, issued a request for proposals designed to facilitate the development of small city-owned lots, and EBC, M. Lappin, and the Markel Group were selected in April 2017 for the development of Brownsville North Ocean Hill. This ULURP application was certified December 3rd of last year, and HPD is the applicant. And the actions are UDAP, project approval, designation, and disposition city-owned land, and it's comprised of 3 city-owned lots. So here is a map of where the sites are located. The northern star indicates the Howard Avenue building, located on the east side of the street at 379 Howard, between Dean and to the north, and Bergen to the south. The southern star indicates the East New York Avenue building, and it's located on triangular shaped block on the north side of the street at 1297 East New York Ave. The development of these sites will result in 2 new 4-story residential buildings plus 1 unit for superintendent. The Howard Avenue building will contain approximately 22 units. The East New York Avenue building will contain approximately 10 units, and both buildings will have a resident lounge, a laundry room, and outdoor recreational yards that would be available to all the tenants. So at this time, I'm going to turn this over to Debbie Whitaker from M. Lappin and Associates, and she'll provide more details of the project.
And Debbie, you could pull the mic out if you need to.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for having us here tonight. So to give you a little bit of background about the team, our managing members, the principals in the team include East Brooklyn Congregations. Sheila Bennett is here with us this evening, and you probably know of EBC's work. They have developed, I think it's now 3,400 homes for first-time home buyers and counting, and almost 300 rental units, affordable rental units nearby. So they're our not-for-profit partner. The general contractor and also managing member is the Markel Group. Mark Collar is the principal. They're based in Brooklyn. They have about 1 million square feet of buildings under construction and 5 million square feet under management. They've developed developed one and were the GC for another affordable rental project in Brooklyn. And M. Lappin and Associates, we're also a managing member. The principals are Mike Lappin and myself, and we, as staff people at CPC, prior to forming M. Lappin and Associates, had financed. Mike did 147,000 homes over the years, and $8 billion in financing. So that's our experience, and since then we've been working with groups such as EBC to develop affordable housing. And the architect who isn't able to be with us this evening is Dilcor Ferrara and Church. They have a lot of experience developing housing for community-based not-for-profits and have done a lot of work here in Brooklyn. So as Lynn has mentioned, the first building on Howard Avenue is at the the corner of Bergen and Howard, 2 tax lots. This is aerial view of the building, or the site rather. And this is the proposed rendering. The building would have 23 apartments and a mix of 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms. Overall, 25% of the units would be 1 bedrooms and 75% would be 2 bedroom apartments. And as Lynn also mentioned, this is the site plan. You'll see there's a recreation area in the back that will be accessible to the tenants, and then there's a small lounge on the ground floor that will be usable by the tenants on the first floor. And we'll put in the street trees, and if there was a question raised at some point about rain gardens, we're happy to look into that as an option in this site. This is the first floor layout, again, a mix of 1s and 2s. This will be a walk-up building, and the laundry room for the tenants' use is on the ground floor, as are some utility spaces. You can see the community space and then access to the garden area in the back of the building. So the second building on East New York Avenue, right where Pitkin and East New York sort of meet, it would have 10 units. Here's a little bit of context there. It's a very busy corner, so we'll be. This is our proposed rendering, and we took account of the fact that it's a busy street to try to push it back just a little, like 18 inches from the sidewalk, to sort of provide a little softening from the street noise. And we'll show you the first floor, so you'll see what's going on the first floor. And wanted, as best we could, with a use of a bunch of several different kinds of materials, make it fit in with the couple of different kinds of buildings right there. So this is the site plan, and you'll see again there's a recreation area for the residents in the back of the building. And this is the first floor unit, or the first floor rather, and you'll see that on the East New York Avenue side, we've put all of the utility rooms and the laundry rooms so that there wouldn't be bedrooms or living rooms right at that street. And we'll have to do noise. We're required by the environmental declaration to do noise attenuation to be sure that the facade and the windows provide the correct sound attenuation here. So we've accounted for that. And again, this is a mix of 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. It's also a walk-up total of 10 apartments. So the proposed program is all of the units will be affordable, and as I mentioned, we would have a range of affordability from 30% of area median for 10%, 9% of the units, up to 70% of area median for 30% of the units, and the balance at 40% and 50%. So we would serve a range of incomes from 21,000 and change up to 75,000 and change. And the rents would range from $472 for the smallest 1 bedroom, or the lowest income 1 bedroom, up to $1,500 and change for the 2 bedroom at the higher income band. So sustainability measures, we are planning to and required by HPD to comply with Enterprise Green Community Standards. Will include a highly efficient HVAC system and Energy Star appliances, water conserving fixtures. The ground floor units will be fully accessible. Again, these are walk-up buildings, so we don't have elevators. And we are working with Enterprise community partners on a community health action plan And EBC has identified a particular interest in healthy foods, and so we're planning to incorporate that as part of our green community strategy. So in terms of economic development measures, we will work with local workforce development partners to refer candidates to the GC and subcontractors for hiring. Both EBC and the Markel Group, the GC, will post open positions with NYCHA's Reese department to recruit any local residents. And EBC does have a lot of experience hiring local residents for the operating and maintenance positions, in its rental portfolio. And EBC also will be doing community outreach during the rent-up process so that local residents will be aware of the opportunities. And lastly, MWBE requirements, certainly HPD sets a goal for us, and we'll work to meet that goal. The Markel Group has used MWBEs for security and expediting, and it plans to solicit bids from other trades, including framing, plumbing, electric, insulation, sheetrock, and painting and finished flooring. So we will work to meet that goal. And the timeline, we're hoping, if everything goes smoothly and with your blessing, we'd like to get through ULURP and start construction this winter. And 2 years later, have the units ready for occupancy. So we thank you again for your time, and would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So we had about 3 questions, but the first question you've already answered in terms of the rents and affordable housing units. The second question deals with rent burden households. Please identify what marketing strategies would be used in the tenant selection process in order to ensure the highest level of participation from Community District 16, especially those that are rent burden or at risk of displacement. Would such marketing strategy start off with a financial literacy campaign to assist area residents in becoming lottery eligible?
Yeah, well, Sheila, would you like to describe some of EBC's efforts? As we mentioned, EBC has a history of marketing homes to first-time home buyers, but also rental opportunities.
State my name, Sheila Bennett. In the past, what we have done seminars to the community where we go out to churches, we go to the community board who has identified different places to go. We do financial literacy, and we also will do any type of seminars they need to make sure that everybody's really rent eligible. So we go above and beyond just doing one, we do 3 or 4, we'll do 5 or 6 or whatever the community needs, and we will identify all of those sources.
Thank you. So our last question, Borough President's policy is to promote sustainable and renewable energy. So you touched on this a little bit. What consideration has been given, possibly in cooperation with the Department of Environmental Protection, the Mayor's Office of Sustainability, NYSERDA or NYPA, towards incorporating passive house design, solar panels, blue, green, or white roof covering, and/or DEP rain gardens?
Okay, well, we touched briefly on the rain gardens. We'd be happy to look into that. We will have a light color roof for sure. We talked with our engineers about the possibility of solar panels, and the buildings are too small to make it feasible. We have, as we're required to do, we have a enterprise green community consultant who's skilled at sustainability measures, and they are going to work with us to consider NYSERDA or other programs that would enhance the sustainability measures that we can do.
So Another possibility in the out years, if the structure is done in such a way where it could be solar ready, so that if something were to make sense financially, if there, for example, would be like a community solar thing organized that will cut costs down, if the rest of the building was solar ready, where it's basically applying the panel, but because of whatever wiring or whatever is set up now, if that's something to be looked into, so that in the out years, you don't preclude that.
Okay, I'd be happy to speak further with our team as we, including the sustainability consultant and the electrical engineer, so see what we could do.
So that concludes our questions for this application.
Thank you.
Are there any speakers? Are there any speakers for this application? Okay, if there are none, Richard, if you would close this item.
Calendar item number 2 is closed. Calendar item number 3, 190160HAK, 190163HUK, 190161ZMK, 190162ZRK.
These applications submitted by the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development for the following land use actions. Pursuant to Articles 15 and 16 of the General Municipal Law of New York State, amend the Saratoga Square Urban Renewal Plan for the Saratoga Square Urban Renewal Plan area, designate 15 lots on a block bounded by Atlantic Avenue, Bancroft Place, Herkimer Street, and Prescott Street as an urban development action area and an urban development action area project for such area. Pursuant to Sections 197-C and 201 of the New York City Charter, conveyed 12 of the 15 lots to a developer to be selected by HPD. Rezone the aforementioned 15-block area from an M1-1 R7D Special Mixed-Use District to an R8A C2-4 district and established a mandatory inclusionary housing area with the rezoning area. Such actions would facilitate the development of a 14-story mixed-use building with approximately 235 units of affordable housing according to MIH Option 1, 15,000 square feet of commercial space, 7,950 square feet of community facility space, and 44 fellow-grade parking spaces in Community District 3. Community Board 3 voted to approve this application on January 7, 2019. Would Felipe Cortes, the representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Felipe Cortes. I am from the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development. With me tonight is my coworker Lynn Sen, Director of HPD's Brooklyn Planning, and members of the development team working on the 1921 Atlantic Avenue project. The development team includes Dewana Williams from the Bar Development Partners, Thomas Campbell from Thoroughbred Companies, and Emilio Perez from GF55 Partners LLP. This development team was selected under HPD's MWUBE RFP as part of the city's larger initiative to build a capacity and development experience of MWUBE firms across the city. The winning proposal at 1921 Atlantic Avenue will result, as stated, in a new 14-story mixed-use building with approximately 235 affordable units with commercial and community facility spaces that will serve the needs of the surrounding community. As you can see, tonight's agenda, I will walk you through the land use actions that the ULURP application is seeking, and then I will hand the presentation over to the development team, which will provide us more details on the proposed project. We'll have time at the end of the presentation for questions, so please keep track of your questions as we go so we can answer them later. The Bar Development Partners and Thoroughbred Companies were selected on January 2017, HPD's MWUBE RFP. Since then, there has been a lot of due diligence required to get the project ready for the public planning process, namely. after the due diligences, the ULURP application was certified. The ULURP application for 1921 Atlantic Avenue was certified on Tuesday, November 13, 2018. And we subsequently presented to the Housing Land Use Committee and the full board of Community 3 on December 12th and January 7th, respectively. As you said, Council, we just heard from the Community Board 3 approved the project with no recommendations. We heard this yesterday, so we're very pleased with that. And tonight, we're here to present this ULURP application to the Borough President. The land use action, the 1921 Atlantic Avenue ULURP application is seeking are urban development action area project designation and project approval, and the disposition of the city-owned properties located on block 1557, lots 3, 4, 23, 26, 28, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, and 37, better known as the disposition area. The application is also seeking a zoning map amendment to the development site to eliminate the MX10 special district, change the underlying M11 R7D zoning district to an R8A zoning district, and establish a C24 commercial overlay within the 100 feet of Atlantic Avenue. We're also seeking a zoning text amendment to map the development site as a mandatory inclusionary housing area. And finally, the application is seeking an amendment to the Saratoga Square Urban Renewal Plan to permit residential and commercial uses on the disposition area. As this tax map shows or indicates, the development site is an assemblage of city-owned and privately owned property, which the development team has acquired since the RFP designation. The city-owned land, or the disposition area, which is the dotted red line, mainly, is about 85% of the assemblage and is currently vacant and underutilized. The non-city-owned lots make up of about 15% of the development site and is basically the shaded part under the purple shaded part. In total, the combined lot area of the development site is approximately 30,164 square feet. The location and context of the site. The development site is located on the north side of Atlantic Avenue and the Long Island Railroad, which runs at grade level in front of the development site. The development site is on a block bounded by Herkimer Street to the north, Prospect Place to the west, Atlantic Avenue to the south, and Bancroft Place to the east. The development site's surrounding area land uses include a mix of residential, commercial, industrial, and manufacturing uses, community and institutional facilities, and open space. There is a mix of commercial, industrial, and manufacturing uses located within 2 blocks of the development site. Fulton Street, which is located 2 blocks north of the development site, is an active commercial corridor with a variety of ground floor retail businesses, including grocery stores and laundromats. Open space in the surrounding area includes the Wicksville Playground at the intersection of Atlantic Avenue and Howard Avenue, and the South Pacific Playground at Pacific Street and Howard Avenue, which is south of the development site. The development site is well served by public transportation. The A&C Ralph Avenue subway station is located 2 blocks northwest of the development site at the intersection of Fulton Street and Ralph Avenue. Local bus services include the B47 and the B25, and the Long Island Railroad East New York station is located within a mile of the development site on the intersection of Atlantic Avenue and East New York Avenue. This is east of the site. And with that, I will now hand the presentation over to the development team.
I'll just down a bit. Thank you, Felipe, and thank you guys for having us. Good to see you guys again. Anna, I believe I saw you at the Community Board Land Use Committee meeting, and Richard, I think we met a couple weeks back on a different RFP, I think the Grand Avenue. So good to see you again, and thanks for having us here. We're very excited to be here with you guys. Very excited and proud of the development that has developed, community-based development. The physical asset for sure, the program for sure, but also the importance of the RFP. If it was missed, it's an MWBE RFP, the first ever of its kind in the history of our nation. So we're really proud to be part of that, and our partnership's proud to be part of that. We have a sense of duty to execute, and we feel very fortunate to be part of that. But also, we're proud that it's a project that has been developed really ground up. When the RFP came out, we didn't go straight to our architects, which I think made them a little nervous. For a couple of weeks, they didn't hear from us. We came right to the community. We met with the community board, the housing land use committee. We met with the economic development committees to really make sure that we knew what is that they needed in their communities. I think, you heard all this before. But, we went in with our own ideas. We did our desktop research and found that there were negative health outcomes. So we wanted to do a medical facility. We came to the community board with that and found that they didn't need a medical facility. We were reminded that the Interfaith Medical Center is a 15-minute walk away. What's really needed was fresh food. That was outlined, I think, earlier. This is a food desert. We did the desktop research ourselves, did extensive research, found that this is a verifiable food desert. So healthy urban living became the centerpiece to this project. So we made that, we took that to heart and made that the central element to it. That kind of leads me to our community program, which
Before
is
you start, can you state your name? Because I didn't hear it.
my apologies. I'm Thomas Campbell, founding member of Thoroughbird Companies, LLC. We're affordable housing developer. Done project here in New York and also out in New Jersey. I'm half the partnership of 1921 DTF Atlantic LLC. Thanks for asking. Sure. My apologies. So we learned that this is a food desert. So a central defining element of this project is healthy living, healthy urban food. So we immediately began to understand the need for that and how to reverse that in this particular community. So fresh food became a center piece of the project. So we immediately decided to do something about that. Farm to table offering is what we wanted to do. So we are doing a project that's going to include a aquaponic and hydroponic farming elements to this project. It's a neighborhood where the mom and pop's been priced out, so the fresh food options, we have what we call violent food selection in the community. So we're going to hit that head on. And then to complement the aquaponic and hydroponic elements, the ground floor will be a 15,000 square foot fresh grocer. And we're working to tenant that grocery space with a grocer that's going to provide the types of food that we think the community needs. And we're working on that. We also learned from the community board that they define their economy as an economy of entrepreneurs. So we need to support their entrepreneurs. So the entrepreneur that we brought onto our project is called Oko Farms, based in and based just north of where we are, just across Broadway over into Bushwick. That's where their location is. They're going to have a space in our building, which is going to be the largest operation by far. You're going to really give them an opportunity to expand their operations to provide aquaculture, education, and food products in our building. Finally, the community expressed to us that they wanted support for their local organizations. So Neighborhood Housing Services is going to be a tenant in our building. They're going to move actually their headquarters into our building, which we're excited about having them in there. We're going to have a supportive housing provider to provide services for the 23 units of supportive housing that are in our building. And then finally, we're going to provide an art gallery space. We have witnessed the closing of many art galleries in the community because they can't afford the rents anymore. So we're going to provide very low cost or even free art space in that space. It's something that we did proactively. We had sort of an open to floor space right in the middle of the building. And we found that the best use of that is to close it up and make it an art gallery, because art galleries don't need windows. Matter of fact, windows are counterproductive to the display of art. So we found a smart solution, and GF55 found a creative way to get us the appropriate egress for that space. And then to round it out, there's 44 ground below grade parking spaces. In terms of the residential program, we also, again, did our research to find out what are the affordability levels that are needed in this community. This is a dynamic, rapidly gentrifying community, actually, that has local members that have at the lower end of the spectrum, and we have certainly members of the community that are at the higher end of the affordability spectrum. Plus, we understand from our intense research with local elected officials and with all our stakeholders with HPD and everyone that we've learned that there's been a deluge of units at the 60% AMI tier because of the previous capital framework. But we had recent developments in the affordable housing capital framework that have allowed for more exposure to affordability levels at the lower end of the spectrum, as well as at the moderate income area, which are tough to make work in the previous affordable housing capital frameworks. You'll see that we have a large percentage of units at the lower income areas. 10% of the units are at supportive level, 10% are at 30% AMI, 10% at 40, 10% at 50, and then we have 30% at 70% AMI, and then 30% at 80% of the AMI tier. And in terms of the rents and the income ranges, you can see them before you, the wide range of income ranges and rent levels, all the way from $251 a month, which you might recognize as the SSI level for supportive units. At that level, all the way up to about $2,000 per unit, which is our maximum rent at the 80% AMI tier for a 3-bedroom apartment. We can talk more about that in detail if you'd like. And in terms of our building, we really wanted to respect the community and to incorporate efficiently into this community. Given that we're on Atlantic Avenue thoroughfare, one of the most important thoroughfares in all of Brooklyn, we wanted our tower to be, to abut the Atlantic Avenue thoroughfare. So the taller elements, the taller tower is there on Atlantic Avenue. We wanted to step down dramatically in support and respect of the low-rise community to our north. We also wanted to use brick elements to show or to incorporate into this community because they are buildings of a similar material in this community, but also show newness, show life, show that we were thinking about progress, and to show modern elements at choice locations, such as the glazing and the panels at the Atlantic Avenue and Prescott, this prominent corner that we're showing here. So now I'm going to turn the presentation over to my partner, Duana Williams, to talk a bit about the rest of the program. Duana?
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Duana Williams of DeBar Development Partners. As Thomas just mentioned, the building in its largest portions front on Atlantic Avenue. As you will see here from the site plan, the southern portion of the site plan here, or the bottom of the diagram that you see, shows the elevation, or actually shows the rooftop of the 14 stories fronting Atlantic Avenue. And then towards the top portion of the diagram that you see, the roofs show that they are 6 stories and 7 stories tall, and as Thomas just mentioned, they're really leveled off to articulate and communicate with the rest of the neighborhood, which is mainly in the back half of the block, consisting of brownstones and townhouses, and that's why the building has different levels across the block. This diagram shows you how the building interacts in terms of the different components on the ground floor. The pink or lower portion, you'll see the commercial space, which is the 15,000 square foot grocery store. And then to the right, upper right-hand portion, you will see a green area that shows 2 of the community facility spaces. If you look at the upper right-hand corner, Thomas mentioned the Brooklyn Neighborhood Services. It used to be formerly Neighborhood Housing Services. They're now Brooklyn Neighborhood Services. Not only will they house their headquarters there, but they will also house in the back of that building open area a workshop that will train workers for skilled labor, such as electrical and carpentry work. And that will be a great addition for the community. On the left side of the diagram, in the lilac or lavender color, I'm sorry, in the green color, you will see the community facility space for Oko Farms. And Oko Farms will do educational programs and workshops for urban farming. We have tentatively formed a relationship with Brooklyn Preparatory High School to bring the students there to also work with their urban farm program. Additionally, in the middle of the floor that Thomas talked about, the art space, you will see its location in the upper middle portion in green. So regarding sustainability, the building will, of course, incorporate enterprise green communities. We know that that's the green framework for affordable housing by HPD. And some of the components include, one of the bigger components includes VRF for our air conditioning and heating. That system is different from what you typically see with the PTAC units, for example, which are bulky into the spatial layouts. We will not have those. We will not have the units that are through the window or that breathe through the facade, which in this case will help with noise attenuation since we are located on Atlantic Avenue. The VRF systems will be located either in closets or in the upper portions of the walls, but not bulge out on the lower part of the floor. Again, we will also have what you will typically see with enterprise green communities, Energy Star appliances that are highly efficient. We will have stainless steel appliances in the kitchens. Regarding, I think the question's been asked about rain roofs and blue roofs. We will have a blue roof on the 7th floor, which will be for storm retainage, and a non-vegetative tiles for storm retainage. But on the 14th floor, the uppermost floor, we will have a green roof, which will be vegetative in certain portions of the floor. For the bathrooms and kitchens, there will be water sense labeled fixtures as well as water monitoring to detect any leaks. I think the question was asked earlier. You may be asking us about that solar panels. We do, okay. We do have a plan for solar panels for later. We have a layout. We're working with Bright Power. We have a layout for it. It hasn't been fully determined yet. A deeper study needs to be made. We will see. I think, as I mentioned, the VRF systems. One thing we do think is critical, given that there are more storms and storm surges these days, we want to make sure there's no flooding in the building. So a critical element is to have the condensers on the roof of the building. And since those things will be on the roof, we don't know quite yet how much will be left for panels, but that is something that is under consideration. Something else we are considering is light-colored panels for cooling and to reflect heat around the building so that it doesn't just absorb into the sidewalk. We do have one existing tree. It is in bad condition. We'd like to keep it, but we're doing a study now to see if we're able to add trees. We'll do a tree pit that will have a reservoir for water infiltration in the front, and then it will exit or outflow through the through the sewage system. Also, and finally, in terms of sustainability, something that I didn't mention in the site plan is that in the middle of the building there's a lot of open space, and we hope to utilize that as green space and planted areas so that we can maximize that area for greenery. There will also be a back water flow prevention system as well. Finally, just in terms of the environment of the building, we are working with the state's DEP to reverse or to engineer properly the flow of the traffic around the building. As it has been stated, the building fronts on Atlantic Avenue. There's also a grocery store. It sits between two one-block streets, Prescott Place and Bancroft. Currently, those two one-block streets are one way in the same direction. We believe, and so does DEP, that one of the one-ways will better serve the community and those passing if one of them changes direction so that the building operates clockwise, going in and coming out of one direction. So the traffic study has been done. It does seem to be a good idea. We don't know which one will reverse, but there will be a clockwise direction to alleviate congestion along Atlantic Avenue. That's a big consideration for the development. And then finally, the timeline, as has been mentioned, the certification was received in November of 2013. We've completed our meetings with the Community Board 3, both with their Housing and Land Use Committee and with the full board in December and January. And then, of course, we're here today, and we're hoping to move towards city planning over the next couple of months. Any questions?
Yes, actually. So I think the first question, actually, Mr. Campbell, you were talking about the affordable housing units. I guess you can go back to that slide. On the income range, I think, if you could sort of break that down, the 16, yeah. Oh,
So we have that available
Yes.
for you. It's the
Okay.
scarier looking slides. We thought we'd make it simpler earlier.
Okay.
But it shows the affordability levels, and it breaks it down by unit
okay.
type.
That's helpful.
So is there a specific area that you can go through? Essentially, you'll see that this is going from lower income AMI all the way down to the moderate income to 80. Within the lower income, it starts with the homeless units. Formerly homeless units, there are only studios and 1 bedrooms there, but we've done them equally, so there's an equal number of studios and 1 bedrooms. We wanted to be egalitarian in that way, and they will all pay $251, which is, as you might know, the SSI level. And then it goes sort of on from there. And so all the way down to a 3-bedroom at the 80% AMI tier at $2,000 per month. So these are what the actual rents will be, and these are the household limits.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then just to follow up, so the homeless you have right now, what's listed there would be supportive units?
They would be supporting.
And they're obviously all meant for single-person households?
Yes.
And have you give consideration to helping us house homeless families as part of your project? I see you have, for example, 27 AMI, 37 AMI, you know, so there are working poor that happen to be homeless, so might there be any prioritization to avoid a lottery process so they could secure units in your building?
So you're asking about units that are larger than the studios and 1 bedrooms, correct? The supportive
Correct.
level. So in earlier iterations,
And also, there may be homeless singles who don't have supportive type issues, right? And they're just working poor individuals. So again, rather than be subjected to the lottery process, there's been a movement to try to have direct access to the units. So just wondering if that's part of your consideration.
so the supportive component is a newer part of our project. It was brought on really as the product evolved, as the term sheets at HPD changed. We really worked to incorporate it at that point in time. 10% of our units, as is required, are supportive. For 10% of the units, 23 units really doesn't work for a congregate population or congregate program. So the eShy program doesn't work here. This is more of a scattered site program.
But again, with the
Yeah.
remaining 90% of your units,
Right.
might a portion of that be where households that have income that actually fit the 37 to 40 or 47 to 50, they actually have the income, but might they be able to bypass the lottery process to move directly from a shelter into some of those units?
I would love to follow up with you on that, Richard, and actually call you and talk to you in that more depth. We haven't discussed that at all, but I would love to learn more about that. and
We've
talk to you about
advocated that. Borough Presidents consistently
Okay.
advocated that for
Right.
several ULURPs over the last year or so. So
Let's
that's
talk about
something
that.
to consider.
Yes, we certainly would consider that.
So the next question actually deals with community concerns regarding displacement. What marketing strategies would be used in the tenant selection process?
So our marketing firm and our property manager, we're working with a larger provider contemplating Wavecrest management. We're going to work in tandem with HDC and their media and work with Housing Connect to do proactive programming in the area of educating local community about how to receive, how to, first of all, take advantage of the preferences that they do have for being part of this community. So there will be active outreach. I think also the fact that we're partnered with and we have in our building neighborhood housing services that does that particular function very well. We feel like we're very well positioned. This community will be very well educated about how to take advantage of this building.
So Brooklyn Housing Service, they don't have a formal role at the moment, but you're considering the possibility of them having a formal role in terms of the marketing?
Absolutely, for sure, for sure.
So actually, the next question deals with the renewable and sustainable energy, which you've pretty much addressed. Have you considered the wind turbines? I know that was something that you mentioned, but.
Thank you. We have heard about them, but haven't done any further investigation. We need to investigate it.
Okay.
If you look out kind of hard in the dark when you leave the building, if you look to the left, you won't see it from these windows, but when you
Okay.
go outside, look left, top of 388 Bridge, for example, there's sculptural-looking wind turbines. They're functional as well. They're also by the Whole Foods in Gowanus, so given the height of your building, and the city has modified the zoning to avoid them being a obstruction, so now they're considered a permitted obstruction, so given the height of your building, it might actually capture enough breeze to be functional and aesthetic, and so help your balance in the operating costs in the future. So if you could give that a look, be
Absolutely.
appreciated.
We've heard about them, and we plan to look into it. Thank you.
So that concludes our questions for this application. We have one speaker,
Thank you.
Zamir Khan.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Zamir Khan. I'm a doorman, concierge in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I've been a member of 32BJ for the past 9 years. I'm here tonight on behalf of my union to express our concerns about the proposed development at 1921 Atlantic Avenue. As you might know, 32BJ represents more than 80,000 property service workers here in New York City. We clean and maintain buildings like the one being proposed here this evening. We believe that new development should provide good building service jobs in order to build a more equitable economy here in the city. We fully support the development of affordable housing, particularly development that is for low-income seniors and formerly homeless households. However, we believe that affordable development should not equate to low-road jobs, especially when the development is financed by the city. Working families in this district deserve jobs and housing that allows them to live with dignity and mobility. The developers for this project, DeBar Development Partners and Thoroughbird Companies, have refused to meet with us to discuss good jobs at the site. We find this a concern, as most building service jobs are typically filled by members of the local community. Without a credible commitment to good building service jobs that pay prevailing wage, we believe that this project lacks community benefits and fails in the mission to be a responsible developer in the development of Brooklyn. New development, especially projects that receive city resources, should not undercut the standards that building service workers have fought for citywide for years. We are calling on the city and the developer to guarantee that workers in this project are paid family-sustaining wages and benefits. Taxpayer dollars should not be used to create low-road jobs. That's our position, and for these reasons, we respectfully request that you urge the developer to commit to providing prevailing wage property service jobs as part of your recommendation for the project. Thank you for having us at 32BJ here this evening.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Idris Abdullah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Idris Abdullah. I'm a longtime resident of the Bedford-Stuyvesant community. Also, I sit on the Land Use Committee. I'm a business owner, et cetera, et cetera. First, I want to thank Dewan and Thomas for this particular type of project. This is a project that the community has been longing for a long time. We met with them, I think, over 4 years. Every time we put a request out there, they made sure that it was heard properly. They made sure that they met the certain demands, certain requests. And I think the community, when they did the presentation at the community board, the community was more excited than they was. And we really, really feel that this is a project, and we're so proud to have them come in. And this particular project, being of its kind, is one which is actually will be the first in the Bedford-Stuyvesant area in the Community Board 3. So we definitely want to thank them, and we also want to thank them because they seem to really understand and listen to the issues in reference to the reasonable rents the low to moderate income housing. This is another thing that the community was really excited about. They did such a good job that when everything was over, we had the board members in the community was asking, are they married? You know, this is how good they was, you know. But again, you know, this was the type of project that we definitely appreciate, and we hope that the developers and contractors that come behind them see how important it is, and that everything, the way the market is going now, everything doesn't have to be at such a high rate to where the people or the low income is pushed out. So again, we appreciate y'all. Sometimes you really don't understand it unless you hear it from people inside the immediate circle. And this really touched a lot of people in our community. So we definitely want to thank you with that. And they also gave us a strong commitment that they will be looking to work with us strongly with local hiring and local community. And again, like I said, we thank y'all for coming in with the full understanding. We thank y'all for addressing everything. As a longstanding member of the community and the land use committee, we welcome y'all, and we hope that this brings all of the opportunity that is to come in the future, especially for y'all being MBE and WMBE participants. But again, we thank y'all, and we hope that other people take heed to this, and hopefully this is history. We will have a lot of people following in your footsteps. But again, thank you, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Are there any additional speakers on this item? If not, Richard, if you can close this item.
Calendar item number 3 is closed. Calendar item number 4, 180292 ZMK, 180293 ZRK.
These applications submitted by Merrick Capital Corporation pursuant to sections 197-C and 201 of the New York City Charter for zoning map and text amendments to rezone from R6B C2-4 to C4-4L, the west side of a block of Howard Avenue, between Madison and Monroe Streets to a depth of 100 feet, and designate rezoning area as a mandatory inclusionary housing area. Such actions would facilitate the development of a 6-story mixed-use building with approximately 30 dwelling units, with approximately 9 available to households at an average of 80% area median income, according to option 2, and 7,000 square feet of commercial floor area in Community District 3. Community Board 3 will vote on this application on February 4th, 2019. Borough President Adams will hold off on making any decisions until he hears from the board. Would Lisa Orantia, okay. The representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Orantia from Ackerman LLP. We're land use counsel to the applicant Merrick Capital Corp. This is a proposed rezoning map amendment and text amendment, and it's to rezone 3 tax lots from R6B with a C24 overlay to a C44L district, and a text amendment to designate the rezoned lots as a mandatory inclusionary housing area. The project site location is on the western block front of Howard Avenue between Monroe and Madison Streets in Bedford-Stuyvesant. The project area is approximately 20,000 square feet, and it's adjacent to a broad intersection where Monroe Street and Howard Avenue, each of them 70 feet wide, meet the 80-foot wide Broadway. The development site to Howard Avenue is the area highlighted in red on the corner. It's currently vacant. It's 8,000 square feet. And next to it are 8 Howard Avenue. It's got a 4-story building that's used by a fraternal organization, and the ground floor is a new grocery store. About half of this lot fronting on Howard Avenue is vacant. And the 3rd lot on the opposite corner to the development site is 16 Howard Avenue, and that one has a 4-story, 8-unit apartment building on it. And it's considered overbuilt. It's got about 3,000 square feet in lot area and an estimated 12,000 gross floor area. The area map shows you again the project area at the intersection of Monroe and Madison Streets and Broadway. You see in the surrounding area, single and multifamily buildings that are 2 to 4 stories in height. Those are in light yellow. And public facilities in blue. There's a commercial retail corridor along Broadway to the east that has the JMZ elevated train lines. There are also a few 6 and 7-story buildings in the surrounding area. You see across from the project area in the blue triangle is a high school. It's 6 stories. And then there's a new 7-story building with 86 dwelling units, and that's also across the street from the project area on Monroe Street. So you have photos of site conditions, views of the development site from Monroe Street, from Howard Avenue. You see the vacant lot development site, and views of the rezoning area, again from Howard Avenue, and of Howard Avenue from Monroe and Madison Streets. The proposal is to extend the C44L zoning district that exists on the west side of Broadway. This rezoning would facilitate development of an underutilized lot. The current C6B zoning district just allows the modestly scaled buildings and is used typically to preserve row houses on side streets and mid-blocks. So this extension would continue and maintain the continuity of the C44L that's already on Broadway along the southwest side north of Monroe Street. The increased FAR in height allowed in the C44 is appropriate for this area that has the spacious intersection of streets, and the existing retail and public transportation in the area support the additional density. And the scale of the new development will be compatible with other buildings in the area. Like I mentioned, the high school, 6 stories across the street, and the new 7-story residential building on Monroe. In addition, it'll bring that height, that lot on the corner within the project area, that will become complying as it is overbuilt under the current zoning designation. So the proposed development is a 6-story, 65 feet tall building with 7,000 square feet of retail on the ground floor, 29,000 square feet of residential space, approximately 30 dwelling units on the vacant lot 35, at least 30% of the residential floor area, and that's anywhere between 9 and 11 dwelling units will be permanently affordable to households not exceeding an average of 80% AMI. The building will contain about 36,000 square feet of floor area, which is about 4.5 FAR. Again, the building will be 65 feet tall, and it'll have 1,800 square feet of outdoor recreation space on the roof of the first story. There's a requirement under the Quality Housing Program for 957 square feet of recreational space. So here you have the site plan that shows the new 6-story building on the corner. Floor plans, the one on the left shows you the residential lobby with the entrance on Monroe Street and the 3 retail spaces on the ground floor. On the right, you have the upper floors, 30 units, and the breakdown is 5 studios, 10 one-bedrooms, 10 two-bedrooms, and 5 three-bedrooms. The elevations on Howard and Monroe Street show you the brick exterior of the building and balconies with glass railings. And the last 2 slides here are renderings showing you how the proposed new building will fit within the context of the neighborhood. So in sum, the goal is to develop a vacant lot with a building that's compatible with existing conditions, to provide high-quality housing, including affordable units, and space for local commercial enterprises, and to enhance the community's business offerings and residential resources.
You're done? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we have several questions. The first question is regarding the depicted height of the building, given that the zoning permits a taller building to be developed. What assures that the building would be constructed to such height?
Well, the C44L zoning district would allow a taller building than the one that's shown in these illustrative drawings. But the building that's shown here was efficiently designed, and due to the size of the lot, it's occupying the entire lot area, and it uses all of the available floor area. It's proposed at 4.5 FAR, and the maximum is 4.6. So that would leave only about 800 square feet of available floor area left over. And in addition, there's a zoning provision that would limit the height of the building next to the adjoining R6B zoning district. So within 25 feet of the district boundary, the building could only be a maximum of 65 feet high.
So that doesn't answer what happens beyond the 25 feet to see that the drawing you're showing us, how is that memorialized? Because the zoning allows
Yes.
something very different.
You could build something taller, but as I said, we went for the most efficient floor plate and basically maxed out the floor area.
But again, that still allows a reconsideration that maybe instead of an efficient floor plate, a higher building might command more value to offset the inefficiency of the floor plate. So how do we know this is the facade we're going to see versus somebody else deciding at a given moment before this building is built that they're going to think another building makes more sense?
I'm joined by my partner, Steve Sinacori, and the project architect, Nellie Manella, so I'll see if they have something to add.
Again, like we said, I understand what you're saying. You're saying you could go higher. Obviously, we use up our floor area in what's before, in the...
Correct, but if you slide the coverage over and you created, say, a bigger space between the low-rise buildings and your building, and you created a large side yard, like the equivalent of a rear yard situation, you would obviously build taller to get back your floor area lost by not having the same coverage.
You know,
So
the
we give up our authority in government once you have the zoning. So how do you put back that authority?
We can obviously have, again, we've spent a lot of time on this design, so it's, like I said, it's not the intention to do that. Obviously, we can, commit in writing, to the envelope that you see. But, again, this is a zoning change. It's not a special permit. So, it would really be on the honor system, and we would be committing to that in writing. That's the best I could tell you, Richard.
There's also filing covenants on property, something to think about. It obviously, this depends on what the city council believes is important to them.
Right,
But
that's
just-
something that's something that's possible when we get to that level. So it's something that, we consider.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question actually deals with affordable housing. I didn't see this in your presentation, sort of the breakdown of the income range. So the first part is, what is the qualifying income range for prospective households based on household size? That's the first. And what are the anticipated rents based on the number of bedrooms? And the third would be, what is the distribution of units by bedroom size?
So the proposal is to use option 2, which requires at least 30% of residential floor area, to be not more than an average of 80% of AMI, and that means that there be not more than 3 income bands meeting that average, and not one of the income bands can exceed 130% of AMI. These charts that are from the HPD website give you a sense of what the income levels are based on family size from 1 to 6 people. and also the monthly affordable rents at 80% AMI. So the charts show you that for a studio, it would be approximately $1,200 rent, up to a 3-bedroom, $2,000. And the breakdown, if we provide a proportional number of units for affordable housing as for the market rate units, in the materials that were initially filed, there was a proposal for 30% of residential floor area, and it was considered to be approximately 9 units, but since then, the plans were revised to reflect 11 affordable units. And with 11 affordable units, our estimate would be approximately 2 studios, 3 one-bedrooms, 4 two-bedrooms, and 2 three-bedrooms.
Okay, the next question actually deals with identifying marketing strategies. What marketing strategies would be used in the tenant selection process in order to ensure the highest level of participation from Community District 3, especially those that are rent burdened or at risk of displacement? Would such marketing strategy start off with a financial literacy campaign?
So we have Tiffany Raspberry here. She's from York Group Associates, and she's a governmental affairs and community liaison.
Good evening, everyone. I want to apologize to the representative here from the council member's office in the district because we have not had the opportunity yet to come in and meet with you, but I assure you we will very soon. I did mention it to her. Getting back to your question, we are planning to find a partner nonprofit organization to work with, and we will work with that organization. We have 2 in mind. I don't want to disclose their names because we have not spoken with them formally yet, but we will have that information for you shortly. And we also intend to work in partnership with Community Board 3 to host informational sessions, and we are definitely open to the recommendation that you have for financial literacy courses in advance of the application process.
Thank you. So I'm not sure if this is for you also, Tiffany. This deals with the commercial floor area. What consideration has been given to providing affordable retail or community facility space for like local arts organizations or cultural nonprofits?
I think that while we're still negotiating the details of this project, we'd love to engage the council member's office on this issue and discuss it. So I do not have a definitive answer, but it's something that the developer is definitely open to discussing with your office and with the local council member's office.
Thank you. So the next question actually deals with sustainable and renewable energy. What consideration has been given, possibly in cooperation with the Department of Environmental Protection, the Mayor's Office of Sustainability, NYSERDA, or NYPA towards incorporating passive house design, solar panels, blue, green, or white roof covering, and/or DEP rain gardens?
So in terms of sustainable construction, we have these notations that are shown on the roof plan for the proposed development. And you see here that proposed to be installed are green roof, solar panels, energy efficient appliances, water conserving plumbing fixtures, LED lighting, and daylight sensors according to the energy code. And we'd be happy to receive any additional information or suggestions.
So also in the context of the outside of the building, the sidewalk itself within the public realm, in terms of required tree plantings, there are opportunities to do enlarged tree pits. You heard an earlier applicant talk about taking the discharge from the tree pit and putting it into the sewer system at a slower rate. And other alternatives are more expansive DEP rain gardens. You may want to have a conversation with DEP in terms of incorporating that. I realize with the storefronts, you know, where you have plantings affect loading, but, you know, it's still you have enough frontage there to have a dialogue there.
If you have any materials that we could refer to, what you're talking, or if you...
Yeah, I mean, you could go onto the DEP website, but if you need additional help, we can coordinate with you.
Sure, that'd be great, thank you.
And the final question actually deals with good quality jobs. Please outline what steps will be taken to ensure the inclusion and participation of minority and women-owned business enterprises and local business enterprises in the process of construction on this site.
So that is definitely a priority for the developer, and when we identify a nonprofit partner, we intend to work with them as well as Community Board 3 to make sure that we have a plan in order to do that outreach. And we can give you that information as soon as we have it.
So that concludes our questions from the Borough President's office. We have a speaker, Idris Abdullah.
Good evening, once again.
Good evening.
Again, my name is Idris Abdullah. I sit on the Land Use Committee, and y'all guys came before us a couple of times, and we welcomed y'all. And I think this is also another project that we welcome because we understand, as community board members and committee members, we understand the importance of low-income housing, or trying to get housing that is feasible for the rates of the incomes at this particular time, you know. So again, you know, we definitely look forward to working with the developers and the teams as they come in, you know, and we just ask that they try to be a little bit more sensitivity in the areas of the incomes, low income, or keeping it at least as low as possible. We know that everything is based on a budget, you know, but again, you know, we definitely welcome y'all. It was a long time for this particular project coming, you know, and this was something that was always on the table with the committee. So again, we welcome y'all guys, and we hope that we can be an asset, and we hope that y'all can really work with the community close with local community hiring. But again, we welcome y'all with open arms, and once you're here, you're here. Ain't no turning back. You can't pick the building up and leave, so you're locked in. Again, thank you.
Just want to ask a follow-up. So with the MIH options, you mentioned the affordability, and the option talked about was 30% of the residential floor area. So MIH option 1, 25% of the residential floor area, meaning 17% units. So instead of 11 units, it might be 9 units. Is that something, when you talk with your committee, that less it might be more?
I think we had put on the floor, and I think we did request a little bit more, you know, if it was possible. And I think they came back with something that was close to what we asked for. But that issue was put on the floor, and I think we did stress it. You know, so in the interim of it, you know, we was hoping that they would come back with a little bit more. But it seemed to work out the way it worked out. So we wasn't too disgruntled about it, but it was something that was workable.
But if you had lower rents and you had less affordable units, is that something that might be something more appreciated by the community?
Yes, it definitely would. It definitely probably would be.
Thank you.
But again, we welcome y'all, and we thank y'all for taking the time out to invest in the community. Thank you.
Are there any additional speakers? If not, Richard, if you can close this item.
Calendar item number 4 is closed.
The hearing on these items is now closed. Thank you for participating in this public hearing. Borough President Adams will review the applications we heard today and will soon submit his recommendation to the City Planning Commission. Borough President Adams would like to take this opportunity to remind you that the City Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on these items. The hearing is now adjourned. Borough President Adams would like to remind those viewing on the website that timely comments can be submitted by email to askeric@brooklynbp.nyc.gov.
All right, close it up.